had a similar run of that. Do you look at those things that, quotes, failed or just didn't become hits, leading you into walking into 2.5 Men and being like, I got this?
100%. Yeah. Because those were all multicam sitcoms. They were all really well written. I did the show called Partners with the writers from Friends.
Oh yeah, I remember.
Yeah, and it was really well written. A Trouble with Normal I did that was really fun and really interesting. I that absolutely teed me up for success. I didn't I felt really comfortable in front of an audience. I knew how to work that. The hard thing about multicam sitcoms is hitting the level where you're big enough that it feels that it feels like you're there comedically for the audience, but you're small enough that on camera it doesn't look like you're just hamming it up.
Yeah.
And that's a very tough thing to do.
Is it harder for a seasoned stage performer?
No, being a stage performer, it's easier. It's easier.
Gotcha.
No, that helped me tremendously. And it's funny because at the time, I took all those shows getting canceled. I did a show called The Famous Teddy Z. That was devastating to me because it was considered like the new hit show, and it died in half a season. You know, it was like it was on the cover of TV Guide. You know, and I took that so personally. And in retrospect, I really loved those shows. They all had great things about them, and unfortunately, for whatever reason, they didn't take off with the public. Can
we talk about that for a second?
Sure.
Because there's another bridge that we have, and I think this might be informative to people who really have no idea how your business works or how my business works. Whether it's an album or whether it's a single, to have a hit song or a hit album is really fucking hard.
Yes, and it's so rare.
It's very
that's why
rare.
Somebody like you who has like 10 like top tens, understand.
I rang the bell.
The
times.
lightning that strikes to get you in the top 10 once. One endless summer night.
Yes. That's absolutely true.
Is astonishing. The amount of talent and the stars arranging, and you happen to get it has the right vibe at the moment,
exactly
and it's the thing that people want at that time. They want somebody with a fantastic mane of hair, and that's going to be Richard Marx.
Or they don't, and that prevents it.
Yes.
The amount of factors that go into even getting it to the point where the public can make it its own decision.
Yeah.
is people don't understand the science project that it is. And it's very similar to television and film, right?
Yeah. The amount of things that have to go right is astonishing. The level of success is just this infinitesimally small sliver of things. And that's why the people that do it over and over again are just worshipped in the industry.
Yeah.
Because everybody understands it's a tiny sliver of chance that will get you there.
Yeah.
Interestingly, two of the producers on my show were Wick Grousbeck, who owns the Celtics. I did a show for CBS for NBC rather, called Extended Family, about the owner of the Boston Celtics. Mm-hmm. And we went through, making the pilot, getting on the air, all these things, and it took this incredibly long, arduous, there was a strike that shut us down for and at every step of the way, I kept telling Wick, I kept saying, understand, this never happens.
Right.
That we're getting this, that this is actually going to pilot is astonishing because nothing ever breaks through and nobody ever goes to pilot. And then we got an order for more episodes. I said, understand, this is just the next level. They'll order more episodes, we'll make more, and then we won't get on the air. Understand that because
you've seen this movie before.
Yes, there is no, the chance that we will get on the air is tiny.
Yeah.
And then once we get on the air, who knows? And that's exactly, we kept jumping through those crazy hoops. And finally we hit the wall where we just weren't, they just weren't making the ratings to keep the show on the air,
But there's this whole other layer that we haven't even mentioned, which is creatively you can tick every box.
Yeah.
You can have the best quality product ever. Mm-hmm. And It can be as simple as a distribution malfunction.
Yes.
It could be that there's a strike
Yes.
on that week when so you didn't get the film reels didn't get to these theaters in time back in the day of that, right?
Yes, sure.
Or in my case, or in film too, but like especially in my case, who else has records out that week?
Yes. Yes, that's another thing, because it's like your pick. Everybody has choices, and this is the week they went, oh, that Richard Marx guy.
There are hundreds,
Yeah.
if not more, dots to connect to ring the bell.
Yes, exactly.
And I, while I appreciate you saying, pointing out that I've had multiple examples of that, as have you, it also sort of begs the question. It also not begs the question. It proves my point, which is, okay, you and I are two examples of people who chose a career that is dependent upon acceptance.
Yes, it needs an audience.
As an audience. The audience has to accept us.
Yes.
Or else we don't have a career.
Yes.
Right? And we've both been fortunate enough to have experienced mass acceptance, but not all the time.
No.
Isn't that fascinating?
It is fascinating.
Because if the public fucking loves you, why do they then sometimes not love you?
Yeah. And it's especially ephemeral for musicians, because style and pop music is so crazy, and
changing with the times,
with the times, and you're still the songwriter you've always been.
Yes,
David Bowie was the same songwriter.
Yes,
he was when he started, but he was in a completely Black Star. I mean, it's like that's a different world.
Yeah,
and
not had his death not coincided with it, I don't know that it would have had any acceptance or success.
Yeah, who knows? Who knows? It's and where the culture is to accept it. It's like my mom's a composer and she's 89, still writing music, still and she actually wrote a show about trying to being an artist in your 70s. She obviously wrote it a little while ago, but it's like, how come people, why do people decide that the thing that you have to offer as an artist isn't relevant at that moment?
Yeah.
And of course we don't know, and we never know what will work and what won't. I think it's especially interesting for musicians because it's such an exploration. It's always an exploration. Did you think like you have a style. You have a style from the 80s and the 90s of your music, because it's beautifully produced. It's slick. It's pianos. It's synths. It's
layered.
Down. You got a nice twangy guitar. And, I remember you love me. Yes, I'm going to do.
Yeah, he did. He did.
I'm going to do impressions of Richard. Let's go through your.
No, that's not.
Let's go through your
vast
Richard
catalog.
Marx essentials.
But yes,
playlist.
I had a vibe.
But you had a style. But that's, I'm sure, not all that you were like Hazard is different.
Wow,
that's like a story.
With the fucking song titles.
But no, that's like a story song.
Totally.
And some of your songs are
different.
Yeah. And so my point is, as an artist, you have different things you want to say.
Yes, of course. And just like when you do different
parts.
Roles and different parts, and when you play somebody evil versus like the happy-go-lucky, that I even understand more. Like I can understand the public who has grown to love you, for example, as a character. Like your role in 2.5 Men, which just was so successful, and everybody loved you and that character. For a fan like me, I want to then see you do all kinds of other shit. But a lot of the public, they just want you to be
Alan.
that. They want Alan. Don't just be Alan, man.
Yes,
right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And you're like, I was Alan. Mm-hmm. I've been Alan.
I did Alan for 12
Yeah, I'm
seasons.
done with Alan.
That's
like,
a lot
I got
of
other
Alan.
shit.
I mean, he was cheap. I get it. Yes. Alan was cheap.
But
he was kind of spineless. I get that. Yep. I kind of did spineless. I
get all of that. I get all of that. What is fascinating to me, and I guess maybe the best way I can illustrate it is actually not with music as much as I think you'll totally relate to this. So I'm on tour, this is years ago, like during the heyday, like in the early 90s, and I'm playing these massive places, and I'm on this long tour in America, and I'm playing arenas. And at this point, I'm 3 albums or 4 albums in, and I've now relaxed a little bit. The first couple tours, I was posing, and I was like, I had no performing experience. I was a studio guy before this, and I was learning as I went, and I was not very relaxed with myself.
Did you have a performer that you wanted to be like?
Several.
Oh, okay.
Rod Stewart.
Sure.
You know, Michael Hutchence.
Okay. Gosh, yeah, those are different.
I was like, I know. So I would be trying to, not the music, but the stage vibe. I would look at them and I go, I'm not that, but I want to be that. So I would try to do my version of that. And in the case of Rod, I actually started on one tour, I started to dress a little bit more like, I was going through his colorful suits phase. And I was kind of doing that, and I was like, stole a move or two. But what was happening that was unique to me, I think, was I started being funny in between songs. I started just being a goofball and telling stories quickly, because I'm not a comedian. But I wanted it to be more than just the music and me pouting and Zoolandering, right? I wanted to be charming. I wanted people to go, he was funny too. He sang his ass off, but he was funny. That's what I wanted. And so I came up with a couple of stories that were actually true, that had happened, or something would happen during a show spontaneously, and it would get a great laugh, and I'd go, I'm going to put that in tomorrow night. That's what we do. So, and you'll totally appreciate this. I'm at a point where I'm packing arenas, so the acceptance is mass, and I'm having hit after hit, and I tell this. It's not a joke. I can't even remember exactly what it was, a story. And every night in the same spot, the entire fucking arena cracks up laughing, and they cheer it. This happens 12 cities, 13 cities. I'm in Detroit. That moment happens. I fucking deliver it exactly the way I've delivered it 14 times.
Nothing.
Crickets. And I go, now a smart man would have just carried on. Not me. I went, no. I said, blah, blah. I'm like, oh, no. People work with me. Like, and they're looking at me like, dude, that wasn't funny. That to me is an indicator of what I'm talking about. Where we have no idea. The metrics can change that fast. It was that particular 17,000 people didn't find it funny.
Yep.
None of them. The night before, all 17,000 thought it was a fucking hilarious story.
Yes.
The next night, nope.
No. Yeah, you just never know. I mean, that it does. My very first work was in comedies on Broadway. Was in Torch Song Trilogy,
right?
On Broadway, and then Brighton Beach Memoirs, and that is that, because some nights you would get on a roll and the audience is floored, and they're just, and then some nights you just, that train never left the station, and you'll get little laughs here and there, and they'll be enjoying it, but there is no, it's intangible, what is the thing that made it click in that way. And I have no, also Detroit is messed up. I mean, it's a messed up town.
Let's blame Detroit.
Let's just blame Detroit.
That particular crowd.
Problems.